Hi, Julia. How are you?
Good. How are you, Sandra?
Yeah, welcome to my podcast. And
Thank
it's
you.
such a pleasure to have you on. We met through LinkedIn virtually.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe a year ago or so.
I think it's been a year ago. I think it was a year ago. I don't even know how we got connected. I think it was probably through the feed through another money coach, and then however the feed worked. However it worked. Yeah. And thank you for having
Yeah.
me. I'm so honored to be on your podcast.
Yeah. So we've met virtually. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn and the internet is you're in another country, you're in Spain, and I'm in the US. And
Hmm.
it's fun to make friends that are also like minded because we're both money financial coaches.
Hmm.
And both serving ambitious women. We'll talk more about that later. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd love to let you introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you. So my name is Julia Shteynberg. I am a money coach, and as you said, I help driven women feel confident about managing their finances and growing their wealth. Whether that looks like kind of getting really clear on their goals, figuring out how to create kind of the different elements of their money plans, and then creating the plan and then holding them accountable to it. That's what I'm really excited about, and I love that you love doing the same thing. Before this, I was in the corporate finance world. So both of us also in corporate and specifically working in forecasting, planning, and analysis. And I worked in a variety of different industries for a bunch of different company sizes until I just decided that that chapter is over.
Yeah.
Like
It's a
you.
chapter.
It's a
Yeah.
chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely time. It was it kind of got to this point where it's it's funny. It's I the way I describe it, it's I remember when I was in college and graduating college, and I had this vision for myself. I'm I really want to be this, successful. I want to be a high level executive. I want to make a lot of money. That was always really, really important to me. And then in the last role I was at, I was working with a career coach actually. And I realized I got what I wanted, yet I'm not happy anymore. I wasn't satisfied anymore.
Yeah.
It's
It's that if then principle. Because sometimes you think you're working towards this thing and then I'll be happy or then I'll be rich or then I'll be fulfilled. And then, yeah. Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. That's
I
interesting.
thought I was fulfilling kind of what I wanted, right? That trajectory. And I was until I just wasn't anymore, until it's just kind of the realization where it's you're kind of not quite satisfied, you don't know why. And it's maybe it's just time to choose a different path now. I feel a
Yeah.
lot of people get stuck there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's a different form of burnout compared to the burnout that people traditionally think of as you worked 50, 60, 70 hours and you overworked yourself. But there are times when it is fulfilling your career. And on paper, you're doing very well and you're successful and you're climbing the corporate ladder. And then it's just something about, maybe I conquered and achieved it all. And there's something else
Yeah.
out there for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was now what? And you're just kind of I don't know, So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my story.
Yeah. And you lived in Chicago before, right?
I did. I lived in Chicago basically the whole time until a couple of years ago. And I can go into that story, but I'm going to follow whatever kind of.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that journey, about how you moved from being a corporate finance person, working a W-2 type of job in the US, and now you're self-employed money coach in Spain.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So yeah, it's it got to a point where kind of burnout with career. And it's funny because it wasn't a planned thing for me to to
Mm.
leave corporate. It was not something I'm going to get here and I'm going to, I'm going to work for the next year or 2 years and save up and I'm going to leave. It was more kind of what you said. It was it kind of got to extreme burnout. And it got to a point where I was I need to stop if I value my own mental health and sanity. It was a very hard decision, and I didn't have another job lined up. Not for lack of trying. I definitely tried, but nothing was really speaking to me. It just kind of wasn't working. And at the same time, I keep grinding. And then I was I need to stop. I need to stop. It was
Really?
so scary. I've never been in a position like that before, where you just kind of leap without another job. It was my identity for
Yeah, I bet.
so many years. Yeah. And it was just very, very scary, but I did it. I did it. And the story that I tell a lot is I was really nervous about everything about it except for the money piece of it, because like we have developed such good habits, me and my husband, that I left my job and 40% of our take home pay was just vanished. But we were set up in such a way that we really only lived on one salary. We even saved from that one salary. So really
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of stuff in day-to-day life changed, which is like what I try to kind of like tell others. Like you can create a system for yourself, kind of like what you did, right?
Yeah.
Like set yourself up so that things don't have to change. So long story short, I left. It took me some time to just kind of like center and figure out what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do. And then kind of through conversations with friends and people, I realized that I discovered this money coach thing. I was like, I didn't even know what it was at first. And then as I started like learning more about it, I felt like it was just something that was like so natural to me. Like I felt like it was something that I was like born to do. Like I love talking
Mm-hmm.
about money. I love getting creative about money. I love helping people see what they can do with money, like how life can change for them and create options. And so that's just what I decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was some of that fear and transitioning over based on, the loss of ego a little bit of your position and this career you built up and pretty sure fantastic salary and all that?
Big time. Loss of ego, loss of like, well, and this is big too. Like, if I'm not making money, what am I contributing to the household? What am I
Yeah.
contributing to, I just, that's, that self worth was so tied up with income. Despite the fact that like I was the one that, and my husband will say this, support, like very supportive, like I was the one that created our financial structure to allow us to do this, right? Like I still
Yes.
felt like if I didn't make money, that I didn't have kind of some
That's
self-worth.
interesting. If you ever listen to Rami Sathi's podcast with the couples,
Mm-hmm.
that comes up a lot, that topic, contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what am I contributing if I'm not bringing in money to the household?
Yeah.
And then you think about, is that your only worth in a relationship, right? And yeah, you kind of touched on something interesting. The career coach. I'm curious, what was your experience working with a career coach? How do you think it helped or benefited?
I'm a huge proponent of working with a career coach. I have referred her to like so many people because she's just so brilliant and so wonderful and helped me. I decided to go with her because I was at this place at the end of like that last job, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do with myself. Like I didn't really want to go back into finance. I don't know what I like. I don't know what skill set I have, even though I've been doing it for almost 20 years, right? Like it just like, it was a very confusing part that I just didn't know how to navigate and what even questions to ask myself to think about what to do, right? So it's like if anybody's on the fence about that, like I highly recommend working with a career coach to just kind of help you get clarity, help you map out what your values are, help you map out what work can look like for you, right? Because it's like I feel like we get so stuck in our head because like we've all been in corporate, or a lot of us have been in corporate. It's like it's 8 to 5 or it's 9 to 5 and like that's it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like it doesn't have to be. And you don't really realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good that you had a good experience with coaching. And like you said, sometimes it's not even that you can't ask yourself the questions. You don't know what questions to ask yourself. And I wish people would see more value in that. I see a lot of people lost. And I think you're in your 40s. I don't know how old
Mm-hmm.
you are. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my 40s. I think it's this decade where people realize that they've done something for quite a while. And some people question, like, did I even like that? Did I pick that? Like, what
Yeah.
else am I good at? Do I have any
Yeah.
other skills? And then people have this dilemma of, am I too old to switch to change to anything? What are people going to say or think? It's different compared to someone maybe in their 20s or 30s shifting careers because they haven't invested as much in a career, right? And it's probably not, well, it could be their identity or not. But once you're in like 15, 20 plus years, it kind of looks crazy to leave anything where you're probably rather successful if you've been in a certain career field that long and making a good income. And then why take, a step back in income or title or work for yourself at all? But Yeah, let's talk about the shift from being an employee to being now self-employed, and
Yes.
it's just totally different. It's hard to explain to people that don't go through it, and you're fully on the other side of being just self-employed. So, love to hear
Yes.
more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I was just talking to somebody. I was just talking to an old colleague of mine actually, and she's just like, "How is it?" I'm like, "It is the wildest journey of self-discovery
Yes.
that I think you will ever go through." Nobody tells you that as you're like, right? Nobody's like, "Girl, hold on," because you are going to find all kinds of blocks. You are going to find all kinds of issues with your identity. You are going to find all kinds of things coming up for you.
Yes.
And I think I'm really grateful for it because I think it has shown me a lot of like my own blockers that, a mindset for a W-2 job is completely different than the mindset of an entrepreneur, right? In terms of kind of like, and it even there's a lot of like money stuff that comes up and money blockages and all these kinds of things that kind of come up, whether you're making good money with a W-2 or you're making good money as an entrepreneur. It's wild how much you need to learn. It's wild how much you realize that you don't know.
Yeah.
It's wild that you have to figure out your own path, which I don't think you really have to do in corporate world. Going from W-2, it's almost kind of laid out, other than like, what function of the organization do I want to be in?
Yeah.
Right. And with the entrepreneurial, it's like, well, I know I need to learn how to market and sell, right? But where am I going to learn that? Like, do I get a course? Do I do a mastermind? Do I go with a coach?
Yeah.
And you don't know. You
There's so
kind
much
of,
information out there. There's so much. And the other thing, when you're talking about how you don't know what you're getting into, is because I feel a lot of social media tells you mostly the good stories. They don't tell you about all the bad things that happen and all the doubts and how you don't have a client pay you on time and how do you go get that money and things like that. They highlight a lot of the very successful stories. And I feel social media talks a lot about, you know, just quit and follow your passion. And once you have your back against the wall, then, make the leap and the net will appear. What do you think about that? Because
it's a great question. I think it's not an all or nothing. I think that there is definitely a mindset to that, right? Because like, if you're constantly like in your mind, like, well, I don't have to make this work. I don't have to make this work. I don't have to make this work. Then you're not gonna probably do the things that are required to do to be successful. You're not gonna go on LinkedIn and you're not gonna make YouTube videos, right? And you're not gonna hire a marketing coach, right? Because you're like, but if you're all in, then you're like, I gotta try it. I gotta try everything. So I think there's a balance. I think like create a safety net for yourself, like give yourself a little bit of leeway, right? 1 year, 2 years, kind of whatever that looks like for you to make yourself comfortable. And then there is something to be said for just diving off. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the little piece that people leave out is do it in a strategic kind of semi-planned way, right? Have the financial resources. Don't quit just because you have to follow your passion. That I think is unwise advice. I think that's meant more for the people that are, like you said, maybe they're incredibly stuck in their heads and they won't do anything
Yeah.
at all. But then the other people that are kind of working towards it, if they could step into it more strategically, because honestly, there are a lot of small businesses that fail, right? A lot of
Yes.
people fail. And I don't think that's highlighted enough too.
It's true. It's true. I was at some seminar actually that they talked about the percentages of small, but I think something like 95% or 99%
Uh,
of businesses like fail in their like first 2 or under 5 years, something like I don't remember what that quote was. It was at a Tony Robbins event that I heard that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
wild.
And then you add on being self-employed on top of that. I think it's even tougher because you don't have, it's same like you and me. We don't have a bunch of employees and other people, and we don't have an IT department or help desk anymore.
Yeah, it's true. And look, and you don't have investors like supporting you. Be like, oh, I'm just going to spend another X amount. Like all of
Yeah.
your investments are very strategic, right? And realizing you do need to make investments, I think, is a big mindset shift too. I don't know how that's been
That's
for you.
true. You're absolutely right. Because in the beginning, especially because I live such a debt free lifestyle, not that I go into debt for my business, but sometimes you have to spend some money and realize that there's going to be an ROI on it. And the scariest part, sometimes you think you're investing in someone else or a course or a class, and you're really investing in yourself to
Yeah.
actually do the work.
Yep.
And yeah, yeah. And that's the hardest part, because now if you laid out some money for a course or coaching, you need to follow through with doing all the actions,
Yep.
right? It's great to listen to videos, and
Yep.
I don't know about you, if you like listening to podcasts or consuming YouTube content, that's fantastic. But like, it's all about taking action on certain
Yeah.
things, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of the investment thing, which I really realized too, is like, not all investments will pan out the way that you think that they will. Even if you do everything and you found out all the information, like I'll give you an example. I made a recent investment a year ago with something about kind of marketing, and she said all the right things. And I was like, okay. And I was also kind of like new in investing in marketing and kind of helping myself. And I probably didn't do enough like due diligence, because it's also a combination of like asking too much that keeps you stuck, and just kind of also kind of taking that leap of faith and going and be like, I'll figure it out. Which is very hard for like a risk averse person. But yeah, like that didn't really give me the ROI. And it's like, okay, good to know.
You're right. It's kind of like the 80-20%, like kind of like being an angel investor, where they know only 1 out of 10 deals, but it's the one that makes them a ton of money is like, exponential and all that. They know there's going to be some duds in there. And same like you're saying, there's some books, I wouldn't say courses so far. Yeah, I think the ones I've invested in are pretty good. But, you read something, or even consuming free content. That's what people don't realize. Your time is a resource too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just sometimes about, do you want to spend more time figuring this out yourself? Or do you want to hopefully maybe pay for some assistance where someone's farther along and can help guide you? And I think that's also why I think hiring a money or financial coach is so important. It's just, of course, I think people can get there maybe on their own. It's just, it would take much longer, and there'd be so many more mistakes. And like I said, it just feels overwhelming sometimes, all the free information out there.
I totally agree.
It all contradicts each other. It's like on LinkedIn, it's like be general, appeal to everybody. Then people are like, no, niche down, speak to one group of people. And then it's just so much varying advice, like do videos, don't do videos.
Yes. Oh my God. I know. It's really hard. It's a really great connection that you made, like all the financial information out there for people, and all the information out there for entrepreneurs. It's like, I think you just have to go with like, what sounds good to you in your gut.
Right. Because if you really deeply analyze it, sometimes you're thinking it all just contradicts each other. Because like I said, there's a lot of advice, like just quit your job. Once your back is against the wall, you will find the clients, the money will be there. And then there's other people, or I kind of believe this too, that you should maybe step into it with more of a financial cushion and a bit more of a plan and a runway. But but different personalities, right? Because there might be people that are more risk averse and people who have like zero risk tolerance, so maybe that works for them. But it's that one size fits all the information on the internet can't fit everybody.
Well, it's exactly right. And I think about all the other kind of financial information, it's like, I think it's also really hard for people to recognize, and I think that's part of like the job that you and I do, like when we do our marketing, like how important it is to find something that works for you, right? Customize something that like works for you. Like for someone, like the 6-month financial cushion, like is plenty and they feel good with it, right? For another person, like they want a little bit more to feel secure and confident, and that's fine, right? And I think like that, like financial investment advice, like, oh, don't have more than 6 months because then it's just like you're losing money. And it's like, well, but like figure out what that trade-off is. Like maybe like that's one view to look at it, but it's not an all or nothing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because maybe a year makes someone feel better. I tell people it's whatever helps you sleep at night. It's like you got to decide on that number and amount for yourself.
Yeah.
But let's get into, why do you serve the people that you serve? How did you choose your niche field, target audience, and tell us about that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I chose women because women have only really been managed. I saw the stat. They've only been even allowed to by most laws and like most of like what's the name of the countries, but basically in kind of like the main kind of first world countries, they've only like had laws that allow women to manage money or even like have their name on accounts, I think 50 or 60 years or something like that. And before that, it was all like men, and you needed permission and you needed someone to kind of be with you. So we have a very short history about kind of learning about money, understanding money, right? And like knowing kind of what to do with it. And if you think about that 50 to 60 years, I'm like, well, if we're in our 40s, so it's only like one generation really before us,
Yeah.
one or two, like, trying to do the math quick, like, don't judge me.
Like our parents'
Yeah.
generation and
Yeah,
easily
basically.
grandparents. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, that doesn't give us a lot of like learning history or anything like that. And to top it all off, like, I just feel like women are also like women are less linear than men too. And like a lot of the financial information out there is like, it's very kind of like linear. It's like, 50, 30, 20 rule. Does that make 100? Yeah. 50,
Yeah.
30, 20.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of like very linear, like just do this, just do this. And I think for women, it's a bit more complicated. We have different needs, we have different emotions. Not to say that men don't have emotions that like drive their behaviors either, but I think it's a bit more complicated for women. I think that we have, unfortunately sometimes more issues with like self-value and like believing in ourselves and like all that kind of stuff just from like the history of like women's rights and all of that. So for me, it was just really important to show women that they are absolutely able to create a plan for themselves at work and actually fulfill it. And for me, like money equals freedom and options. And I think there is nothing more important for women than to have freedom and options, right? Like how many times do you hear about like women being stuck in relationships because they don't know how to manage their own finances? They're scared of it. They don't know how to look at it, right? And like it overwhelms them. So for me, like that's always been the biggest driver. And I can't say there's been a specific like moment or a reason like that kind of prompted me for that. I've always just been a huge proponent in like women really understanding the value that they bring to the world, to themselves, to the family. And I think money is just a very natural path to kind of dive into that and kind of like start kind of growing their confidence. Because once you grow your confidence in money, that starts showing itself in other areas of life. And once you
It truly
understand like
does.
your patterns of money, you see those same patterns in other areas of life. So money is just kind of like a more tactical way to kind of approach the whole self-worth, confidence kind of piece for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I feel like once I started getting my money together, it improved relationships, career, everything. And then it's a non factor now in a lot of situations, right? I'm not going to evaluate jobs based on salary. I'm not going to, like you said, feel stuck in a job, relationship, any type of situation. Emergencies are a lot less stressful
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very empowering. Like you really can feel like you can handle anything that kind of comes your way.
Yeah, you're right. And it's a tool, it's a resource. It's
Yeah.
not like I have to worship it and think about it all the time, but it's there for me and it's helping me instead of me being stressed out about it or being controlled by my financial situation. But yeah, I just thought about this. So how did you start getting into finances? I mean, I don't know if it was through your corporate career or tell us about your personal finance journey yourself.
Yeah, happy to. So me and my family came over from old Soviet Union as like Jewish immigrants. So and I think a lot of immigrants will kind of like understand this. There's an immigrant mentality where it's like you're working, you're saving, you're working, you're saving. Like saving is a natural kind of part of immigrant life.
Yeah.
But what I do think that was different about my background is like we always at home, like we're just very open and comfortable talking about money. Nothing was ever a secret. Nothing was ever a big deal. It was always very open. Like I remember getting like birthday gifts from like my grandparents, and my mom would just be like, "Okay." Like I remember there was one particular time when I was like, "Look," I think I was like 9 or like 12 or something, and my grandma gave me a birthday gift, and my mom was like, "All right, so you can spend it on." I wanted like a pair of Nikes. She's like, "You can spend it, and then only have like $10 left over, whatever it was." So she's like, "Or you can save it and then like buy something kind of like larger later,"
Mm.
like giving me that. And I was like, "Well, no, I'm going to save that." Like it was just so intuitive for me. And that just kind of how it happened. I started working at 15. I started saving. Like my parents like saved all my paychecks. I worked through college. I didn't have any college debt. Like we figured out a way to pay for it. So that was my money journey. I was always like a big saver, but like through my work, my own money journey has started shifting a little bit too. Cause like when you're in saver, you could also be a little bit in scarcity mode.
Yeah, and not as much of an investor, because I remember us having discussions a while ago where you're trying to learn more about investing and all of that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So it's an interesting, because like people are like, well, I'm a saver, I don't spend money. But are you investing? Like, are you growing it? Are you investing in yourself? Right? A lot of savers will not invest in themselves. They're afraid to
that's
invest in
true. That's
themselves.
so true. It's a kind of interesting. Sometimes I think about how people don't want to invest in courses or things to
Mhm.
improve themselves, but they'll gladly spend on vacations that are really like, of course they're creating memories, but it's a
Yeah,
bit consumable, right?
yeah, yeah,
That memory goes away. The vacation, the second you get back from vacation, you almost forgot you're on
yeah.
vacation.
Or they'll
So yeah.
spend, like, I actually just had this conversation with a friend of mine. And she's just like, oh, but I have to, like, I want to, like, do my lawn, and that's a hefty investment in my house. And we want to update the HVAC system. And she's like, I really want to work with you. I'm just like, not sure. I'm like, you are not less important than your lawn or your HVAC system. And I think, especially as like women and as savers, that's
It's a
just,
nurturing spirit also, to take
yeah,
care of others and to have a nice
absolutely.
home and all that. And of course, moms, that's a whole different story. But yeah, yeah, I think that happens a lot with
Yeah.
people where, and they feel like they can't invest in themselves. Interesting,
They don't
interesting.
prioritize that as high as like investments in their house or vacation or family stuff. And I think that's like one of the things that I want to start kind of like, kind of helping women through. Like that's a big part of that whole kind of concept of self-worth and confidence. Like I am more important than investing in my lawn. Like really, like nobody wants to say that, but like you are more important than that, right? Because then what you give into the world is so much more important.
Oh, and then I just thought about this. Ironically, I did just invest in lawn service.
That's okay. That's okay.
But it was getting really bad. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
weeds,
no, good
and I
for
thought my
you.
time was more valuable. But anyways, I was gonna make a point. Sometimes a lot of that stuff that people invest in is more to help them protect their self image, right? They're like, what would the neighbors think if I have a terrible lawn? And
Good
I did
one.
it more because I wanted to save my time. I
Yeah,
didn't really. I don't. I wouldn't say I don't care how the lawn looks, but it was just getting ridiculously overrun by weeds.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and I don't want to be out there with the fertilizer and the weed and feed. And I'm like, I could pay a service. They will come every 6 to 8 weeks. It should start looking better soon, hopefully.
Right. And it's done. But that's the same thing, right? Like you are investing in yourself. You're investing in your time.
Yeah,
Like that
yeah,
is very
absolutely.
precious.
Yeah. But I think about all the people who make sometimes maybe, and I wouldn't say vanity purchases, but it's like, what would people think if I didn't do this? Like, what would think if I didn't do my nails, right? But if you truly enjoy having your nails looking good, then that's a different story, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, and that's the thing, right? Getting to the true intention of like why you're doing what you're doing. Like a
Yes.
lot of people always talk about like spending frivolously on like I'm just going to use an example of something that I love, like expensive shoes or handbags. Be like, and it's not for everybody, but like I am not ashamed to say that I love a good, beautiful, expensive handbag. Is it over everything else? No, but like it's important to me, not because like I care about that other people see me wearing it. Like I don't care. Like I take so much pleasure from seeing it in my closet with my clothes on me. Like
Yeah.
it truly gives me
Yeah,
pleasure.
me too. Me
Yeah.
too. I'm the same way. And I think I always tell people to ask this question to themselves: would I care if anyone saw this thing that I purchased?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and that's a good test. Is it like, is it truly for
I'm gonna write that
you? Yeah, or is it for other people? Because I struggle with that too. Because on one side, when you start getting your money stuff together, you can kind of skew to being more frugal, and I think you probably do that too, being a super saver. And I'm sure immigrant parents, they're like,
down.
you're going to make the most of what you have. But then once you kind of have a little more abundance and wealth, why are you still, shopping at IKEA or or Walmart for all your furniture, and
Yeah.
you don't have to anymore.
Yeah. And that's a very important distinction that I think like as people again kind of like grow in their wealth, they don't stop to be like, well, is it maybe time to start to switch my mindset? Like, right? Like going from a W-2 employee to an entrepreneur, you're forced to switch your mindset. But like when you accumulate kind of enough money to be able to make decisions differently, you don't always have a trigger that
That's
helps you think
true.
that.
That's so true. Especially even people that have this concept of enough, it's so elusive. And I find myself doing it too, where you just start moving the goalpost out because you're just like, well, what if both cars broke down at the same time? I need to buy, you just start like imagining, and there's like, well, what if I couldn't find a job for an entire year, and it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
and then you start having bigger and bigger goals, which is actually start meeting some of them. It's kind of interesting. I don't know, have you met some big financial goals in your life, and what did you feel after it? Because I paid off my house last year, and
I know. Amazing.
yeah, it's really amazing. But on the other hand, it's a little bit like we're talking about kind of the if then principle. You think everything's going to change, and some things have changed. I wouldn't say I regret it, but it's not like my whole life like radically changed. I still budget, I still save and invest, I still live almost a very similar lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. It's funny because I'm totally going to call myself out on this. I always encourage people to have like actual goals because it helps them stay grounded and connected to them, right? When it becomes difficult. For me, I've never actually had a monetary goal that I'm working towards. For me, it was,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I know. I've always just been like, I'll put it away. If I need it, I'll use it. If I don't, but I was always very intentional about having the cushion. I don't spend everything that I make. So I personally don't practice what I preach only because I don't need to have that. Like, I don't need that to save. Like, I will save regardless, right? And I will
Okay.
invest regardless. But recently, we did actually, as a family, pass a pretty significant financial milestone in terms of kind of like wealth accumulation. And it really makes you pause and be like, okay, do we need to like bust our butts? Like, we've
Yeah.
got retirement covered. Maybe we can travel more and save monthly a little bit less. Right. That was actually a really intentional thing. Like when we moved over here to Spain, one of the things that we decided is like we're going to travel more frequently. And that really cut into our monthly savings amount. But it was just very, I remember thinking to myself, like, it's going to be very intentional. Like, I know we're going to be putting away less money, investing less money, but we're going to be
Yes.
investing in travel and experiences more than the other type of investment. So that's probably
Yeah.
the one that's the most kind of intentional. It's like the intentionally
Okay.
switching. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, and let's get into that. Tell us about your move to Spain, why, how it's been,
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
us
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like I glow when I talk about it. It was just like an opportunity that came up out of nowhere. My husband and I, so after I left kind of corporate, it took some time, decided to start my business. We decided, and we had some personal stuff that we went through that I'm not going to get on this podcast, but like it was some challenges that we went through. And I remember one day my husband comes to me and I was kind of like sitting depressed watching TV. He's like, you know what? He's like, let's go to Paris for 3 months. He's like, I'll work remotely. He's like, we've always wanted to do this. Let's just go. And I was like, he's like, you don't have like a job tying. And I was like, okay, yeah. So long story short, we were in Paris and then we took a flight up to London to see one of his like ex-colleagues.
Okay.
His colleague, so somebody that he used to work with at a previous company, and they started kind of, BSing like, oh, how do you like it? And my husband's like, yeah, it's fine. Recently knew his job. And the colleague was like, well, would you consider coming back to the other job? And he was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, we have an opportunity in Europe. And I was like, I kicked him under the table. And, it's something that like my husband and I have been dreaming about like for our entire adult lives to like live in Europe. And it was just kind of like fate. Like he went through the interview process. This was like October, started the interview process. By December, we signed the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Decided it was either Madrid or Paris, and we chose Madrid. You'd appreciate this because it had better financial benefits than Paris. Like we'd never come here before, so we're like, well, let's just check it out. And just like boom, 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 and we moved here, and it's been
Wow.
almost
It
2 years.
all just happened out of nowhere. It's crazy because like when you're planning for life, it doesn't always go as expected. And then that came out of this season of you were not working, kind of probably
Exactly.
uncertain about life and what to do and where you're gonna go. Wow, that's fantastic. Is it like a limited amount of time that you're there?
No, I mean he's on a European contract. We are European,
Oh,
Spanish, yeah,
wow.
residents, and it's for as long as we want. The financial benefits work for about 5 years, so we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, I mean it's kind of unlimited. Yeah.
Wow, wow. And that's the beauty of also that you have a self-employed, can work anywhere, work from home type of employment, which I think a lot of people envy and all that. And it's just, I see a lot of people stuck sometimes in corporate America where they have a huge desire to work for themselves, work from home, have that like location freedom, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
have the freedom to be located where you want. You can easily follow your husband. I want to say follow, but you're going to
I
be
do.
together no
I
matter
do.
what.
I do.
Well, careers do sometimes split keep couples up. To be honest,
It's
people,
true.
especially if we have two ambitious, driven individuals, and who's going to follow who if they need to go work in different states or countries and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That could be
yeah.
very challenging. No, my husband and I are extremely supportive of one another. Like, yeah, like we come first kind of before everything. So we'd figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's amazing. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would love to build a business like that. But yeah, what do you think's coming in the future for your business? If you want to share anything about,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny that you ask. So I saw that you're a fan of Cody Sanchez as well.
Yeah.
So we are looking to buy a business. We want to go that route. We joined her community, the contrarian community.
Oh, I
Yeah, because I'm
joined.
like, you should. Like, if that's something that you're thinking about, like, people are so supportive. There's so many great resources. I'm
Okay.
actually going to a seminar in Austin in a couple of weeks for that. And like, that's next on the horizon. Like, I'm going to keep doing my business. Like, I love, love what I do and the impact that I have. And just seeing these women's lives change is incredible. And we both want to get to the like, next level of financial freedom, which is just not rely on anybody else for our income, for our cash flow.
Would you run it together, you and your husband?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's bold taking the moves because a lot of people like to consume her content. She has really good content, but then it's taking action on it and doing something about it. So yeah, I'm thinking about that too,
Mm,
about buying an established business. I think that would be, I think it's something people overlook because like she talks about, it's not the sexiest option. Everyone wants to start a business from scratch, but what's wrong with buying a business that's already cash flowing, that's been established? Yeah.
absolutely. And like, when I heard that, like, literally, it was like, boom. I was like, oh my God, of course. Like, it was like, of course, that's what we're
Yeah.
going to do
And you can
next.
do it without debt too. And you don't
Yeah.
need investors and all that. I think that's a misconception a lot of people have that you have to have all these resources to start your business.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't always need that. And I don't know if you've also experienced this with some of the people you coach, but a lot of people have this misconception you have to go into debt to start a business, which I think is sad because I don't think you have to.
Think you have to either. I don't think you have to either. I think there's no one right way or wrong way. My question would be like, why do you think that's the case? And what are you looking to do? Is it like, is it a fear of timing? Right? Like, again, get to the kind of
Yeah.
like root of that. Like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. I think my issue is that when people think it's the only option.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's more creative, resourceful ways. Financial coaching obviously is a business that can be bootstrapped pretty
Mhm.
easily.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
not very financially intensive. So
Expensive. Yeah.
I just wish people would consider more different options or maybe stair stepping into things or what's out there. But well, I'm so jealous you joined the contrarian community. Yeah.
Yeah, we should talk about that either maybe at our next podcast or just like with you and me. Like, I'm happy to share all my learnings and kind of, it's crazy. Like, we started sourcing businesses, we started talking to brokers, we started talking to like business owners. It's scary though. Like, talk about another leap, man.
It's
We
a
have
whole nother thing.
a whole other
Yes.
thing. It's a whole. I
You
saw
got to share
myself.
more about that journey online too.
I
Like and
know.
to
I
bring
know.
people in, even like as you're going and debate. And that's what I love about social. I don't think LinkedIn's super great for it. Maybe YouTube or something where you can talk more about the how and the evaluation. And it may seem boring to you, but it also helps you further clarify it because you're explaining it, right? You're kind of teaching it to an audience
Yeah.
and you're kind of working through this is why we didn't go with this person, this is why we went here, and this is why we're evaluating certain businesses. So yeah, that
Yeah.
might be interesting. And then I also think it's fun to kind of, it's your like video journal, and then one day you can kind of look back like maybe 2 years from now,
Yeah.
and then you're
It's true.
watching
That's
some
a
of the
good point.
videos and you're kind of like, oh, I remember when I was so indecisive about that, and now like I'm way past that.
Yeah, that's a really good point because like that's what I tell my clients too. Like, keep track of like your wins because like one day you're gonna look back and be like, I
Yes.
can't believe I was like thinking about this and like look at where I've come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah. You
point.
realize how far you've come. But yeah, I think we should wrap up. I've taken a lot of your time, but I want to give you a chance to let people know where they can find you if they want to know more about you or reach out to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So my marketing efforts are on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn on my profile, I also have a link to my newsletter. So that's like the best way to really connect with me, because every week I send out really like short, actionable, like strategies around either mindset or strategies around kind of like investing, like thinking about like different ways to invest your money. Not that I'm a financial advisor, full disclosure, but more around like investing in self and like what the different options look like. So that's probably the best thing, is like the link in my profile directly with my newsletter. So thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much about
Pleasure.
your story. And I learned even new things about you. I had no idea that your family immigrated here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
makes more sense. The reason why you wanted to live in Europe and all that. That makes a
Yes,
lot more
yes,
sense.
yes.
And I didn't realize how similar some of our backgrounds, our backgrounds are about corporate America and leaving and all that and all the feelings. So thanks so much for sharing that. I got a lot out of it,
Same,
and I'm
same.
sure the
Thank you.
audience will. And thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. You too.